Hey, this is Chris Richardson. I want to welcome you. I am a relationship strategist. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a radio talk show host of a blog show called Real Talk with Chris Richardson. That's right, the Real Talk with Chris Richardson show. Well, every now and then I put out these little zany little posts that I like to do. I call them my little bootleg videos that I do. But I want to talk to you today on a title and a subject matter titled, How Bad Do You Want It? That's right. How bad do you want it? You know, we all talk about relationships and what it takes to make a relationship work. But my question today is, how bad do you want it? So today I'm going to use a backdrop. I want to talk to you a little bit from the story of Iron Mike Tyson when he fought Buster Douglas in 1990. That's right. Buster Douglas fought for the heavyweight title of the world back in 1990, and he defeated Iron Mike Tyson. He took Mike Tyson to a place that Mike had never been before. So the question then becomes, for him, how bad did he want it? Well, he proved it on that day that he was willing to put in the work to make it happen. When you want something bad enough, you got to be willing to put the work in to make it happen. He defeated Iron Mike in the 10th round by knockout. Arguably, this was one of the best fights of his career that he would remember. Now, most of you know that Iron Mike was known for that vicious left hook. Sometimes your opponent is known for something, and then other times you're giving your opponent more credit than what he needs to be given credit for. You cannot give more credence and credibility to the enemy when he comes. But I tell you this, when you step in that ring, you better be prepared to fight for the fight of your life. Today's culture has allowed us to embrace many things, and that we do today that are morally different than what we did back in the day. And so you got to ask yourself, what side of the line do you want to be on? When Buster Douglas stepped in that ring, he knew that he had to bring his best A game with him. Now, he knew that he was in for a fight of a lifetime. The question to you is, when you're dating someone and you're just in the process, remember, dating is about discovery. The question is, when you go to that next level and you get engaged, how bad do you want it? Are you willing to fight for it? Are they willing to fight? When you get matched up with somebody, you better know that they're going to fight and give it all they got. When they say I do, you better make sure they say I do. Give it everything that you've got. Listen, I was out playing tennis earlier today, and I was, dealing with some challenges. We went from indoor tennis to outdoor tennis today, and my good friend and pastor, Reverend Dr. Michael Bell, he and I were playing today, and I was having some problems. I was having problems because I could not adjust fast enough to the elements. That's right. Sometimes in life, we're going to be faced with some challenges because they're elements. Indoor tennis is completely different than outdoor tennis. And so just like in your relationship, you're going to have to face some elements and some challenges, but you're going to have to adjust. I'll remember the first set, it was 6-3. Second set, he beat me 6-3. And that's when it got a little challenging. We went into the third set. The first game I won. The second game was a fight of a lifetime. It was back and forth. We went from tiebreak to tiebreak, back and forth. And at that point, I was weary. I know in scripture that says that, Paul says, James says in the book of James, it said, do not be weak and weary in your well-doing. I was getting weary, y'all. Sometimes you get into a place where you're fighting for the fight of your life. You've been fighting for this relationship. You want to make it work at all costs. And then you get weary and you start second guessing yourself. That's where the enemy wants you to be. But I'll be happy to report to you that I walked away with the Victor's Cup. I walked away with the victory that I have. You too have the opportunity to walk away with victory, and every time you get in a ring, but there's some things that you've got to do. For me, it works well, and I'll use the backdrop from the Apostle Paul, because there's some things that Paul lays out to us, that we have to remember as well. And I'm going to refer to this in the Apostle Paul talks about in 2 Corinthians 11. He says, are they servants of Christ? He says, I am out of my mind to talk like this. I am more. I have worked much harder, been in prison more frequently. I've been flogged more severely. He says, I've been exposed to death again and again. 5 times I've received from the Jews 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was pelted with stones. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I spent a night and a day in the open sea. He says, I've been constantly on the move, and I've been in danger from rivers, and dangers from bandits, and dangers from the fellow Jews. Listen, I could go on and on about that, but the Apostle Paul has been through all of this, and yet he still isn't complaining. Some of you have been in some things and challenges that you keep complaining about the same old thing and same old thing. In order to do something different and get a different result, you got to do something different. If you keep getting the same thing day after day after day, we call that the definition of insanity. You've got to make a shift and a change, and it starts with the mindset. You got to learn how to release yourself from fear, release yourself from doubt, release yourself from guilt, release yourself from shame, and know that no weapon formed against you can prosper. But you're giving too much credence and credibility to that. Paul then says in 2 Corinthians 4, I'm going to go over there now. I love what he says in 2 Corinthians 4, and we're going to close off with this. He says that in 2 Corinthians 4, give me a second to get my notes here. He says that in 2 Corinthians 4:8, he says, we are hard pressed on every side, comma. Now, let me back up for a second. A friend of mine, Christopher Williams, shared this with me Sunday, just this Sunday in church. And he says, what side, read this again. And I was reading it just like I read it to you. We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed. He says, stop. I want to tell you, stop right now. Look and listen at what's going on. How are you reading it? How are you looking at the situation? How are you looking at your circumstances? And what I need you to do is reframe how you see it. That's right. The key today is reframing how you see it. Read it this way. He says, we are hard pressed on every side, comma. A comma just means a pause, but a period means an end, okay? So a comma means it's not over yet. The best is still yet to come. Then it goes on to say, but not crushed, comma, perplexed, comma, but not in despair, persecuted, comma, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. You can read the rest for yourself. What's the point of what I'm making here? Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to simply tell you, when God puts his but in it and there's a comma in it, it just means that it's not over and that the best is still yet to come. You can still have your best relationship. You've got to change your mindset. You've got to change how you see it. So that means you've got to learn how to reframe it. Reframe what you see. The question then becomes what side of the comma do you want to find yourself on? Will you be on the left side or will you be on the right side? I had to change my perspective in order to change my results so that I can get a newfound reality. Listen, I'm going to close off with you and say, this is Chris Richardson. I want to invite you to go to my website, realtalkwithchrisrichardson.com. There I've got a plethora of information, of free things that you can get. That's right, free things that you can get. I've also got some information about there. I challenge you, invest in yourself. That's the best investment you can make. If you want a good relationship and you keep getting bad ones, it's time to look at the man in the mirror or look at the woman in the mirror and remove the mask or take off the makeup. Listen, go to Real Talk with Chris Richardson. I want to thank you for your time. Good night. God bless.